Hey, good morning, everyone in Hawaii, and good morning, everyone from all parts. I love this. We got London in the house. We got Mississippi, Chicago, my Chicago family. And guess what? You're all my family. Because guess what? When I come into a meeting, my last name is alcoholic, and I think your last name is alcoholic also. So that means that makes us related. We're all cousins. So I'm with my family in Hawaii. I've been here a few times. I don't think at this meeting, but I'm so grateful to be here. Again, my name is Paris, alcoholic and grateful member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I want to thank everyone for being here because I can't stay sober by myself. And congratulations on all the day counters. Maria, keep coming back. Stick with it. Don't quit it. One day you'll get it. Glad you're here. Been waiting for you. Just stay. And anybody has any anniversaries, man, that's letting me know that it works one day at a time under all conditions, situations, and circumstances if I have the willingness to stay sober. Man, I'm loving the energy. You guys, man, Lenny, remember we talk about that energy. I love the energy, the enthusiasm, because if I came to Alcoholics Anonymous and you guys all had your head down when I first got here 23 years ago and said, hey, how long you been sober, buddy? 54 years. How's it going? It's a shit show. I would have gotten out of here. I would have been like, look, I gotta go back to the alley friends. I gotta go back to the spots. I gotta go because guess what? I came over here to get what I didn't get over there. I got to get some happiness, some joy, and guess what? To be free and have the freedom to be me and comfortable in my own skin. You know, my sobriety date is January the 10th, 2001. Oh God, January the 10th, 2001. I have a sponsor and also have a spiritual advisor. My sponsor is Norman, and I have a spiritual advisor. His name is Howard. I share that to say that guess what? I talk to these men. We communicate still because I only know a little, and I still need to know how to guess what? Deal with life when life shows up. And I need to not go into my head and try to analyze it and figure it out because I found out that my analyzer and my figure outer was broken. That's why I'm in AA. And they say the luckiest people in the world are people that need other people, right? You know, I want to share something because I love the title of this group. It is really cool. Defective Characters. This is something I found out a few years into Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is what someone read to me. And this is on page 63 in the 12 and 12. It says, and this is really just a step. And you read the step backwards, and it says, character of defects, these all remove God. I have to remember that I didn't go when I was in school and I went and got further academia, all that kind of stuff. They did not have one class that said character defects 101. I don't know if you guys had that, but I didn't have it. So I had no clue what you guys were talking about. Then you were talking about inventories and all this stuff. And this is like in my first year. So I'm just like, oh my God, right? Let me share something with you guys. And this kind of hit me because I always ask God to speak through me. And before I go into the message, if you guys can join me in a short quiet time, as I ask the God of my understanding to speak through me and allow me to carry the AA message and not the mess and be a messenger of his will. And one other thing, if you guys can join me in the third step prayer, that would be fantastic. Just a moment of silence and then the third step prayer. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those that I would help. Of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life, may I do thy will always. Man, this is just, I always like to start off somewhere in the big book because the big book gives me the directions. The plan of action is here. And one part that I want to share, and this is on page 84, and then I'll talk for a little while. And these are the promises that we get from step 10. I remember hearing these in meetings early in recovery, and I was just like, oh my God, how do you get that? Will I ever receive what these guys are talking about and what I'm seeing? Because the evidence was you guys, right? I found out that for me, God had to be a GOD initially, a group of drunks. And then it became GOD, good orderly directions, when I started to take some directions. So this is on page 84 at the bottom. And it says, we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are neither fighting, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react, so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We're not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. That was a lot when I first came here and I read all that. Like, man, how do I get all that? I mean, am I going to get all that? Oh my God, I got to stay here for like a zillion years to get that. Let me give you a snapshot of why I qualify to be here. I picked up the first drink alcoholically when I was first at 14. And I say alcoholically because before then I used to take sips and stuff like that. My parents would be like, hey, taste this. Oh, let her do that. And I spin around, dance, fall out. But I never woke up the next morning talking about, Ma, I need a shot. I need a shot of gin. Ma, I need a fifth of this, So that didn't happen. So around 14 in that area, I'm like, okay, the guy said, hey, let's go and get one. I'm like, first they asked me a qualifier. You got some money? I was like, yeah, I got some money. It was around 8th grade graduation, right? So we got somebody to cop for us, and I was getting new terminology. Like I had to learn new languages in Alcoholics Anonymous. So I was getting new languages and new terminology. Like, we got to get somebody to cop for us. I'm like, cop? What do you mean cop? Like, we're going to get somebody to buy it for us that's of age. So we got somebody to buy it for us. We got some red Irish Rose. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It was a brick of Rick. We got some MD 2020. We went to another spot, got some nickel bags of some other substance. They used to have nickel bags back in the day. I don't know if they do that. I don't care. So anyway, we got all this stuff together and I followed my sponsors at that time. My sponsor said, we're going to crack the bottle. We're going to pour out some liquor for the brothers that aren't there. And we're also going to pass it to the left. So I'm following my sponsors. Keyword I said, sponsors, because they're showing me how to do this stuff, right? So I crack the bottle. You're doing what they say. I put it into my mouth. It goes into my body, hits my bloodstream, goes to my brain, and it said more. And there was a relief, because before I picked up a drink, I was stone cold sober, but I had a lot of feelings that I didn't know how to name them at that time. Insecurity, low self-esteem, lack of self-worth. I'm too much. I'm too little. I'm this, I'm that, and a whole bunch of fears, right? But when I drank, I didn't care. Fears were gone. I love what Dr. Silkworth describes and what he states in the doctor's opinion. It gave me a sense of ease and comfort, right? And I didn't drink because of the color of the bottle. I didn't drink because I was on this side of town. I drank, as Dr. Silkworth says, I drank for the effect. And I never wanted to feel the way I felt before I picked up that first drink. So what does that look like? I drank alcoholically from the get-go. And here's the thing. I have to remember, I can't compare my alcoholism to yours because I'm the only alcoholic I know that drank the way I drank. And the way I drank was alcoholically. I drank through high school. I put other things, a lot of the other things that I wanted to do, I put alcohol in place of them. But here's the thing. God gave me a gift to stay academically strong. So, of course, I'm saying to myself, I'm not an alcoholic. I can't be an alcoholic. Look, I'm still achieving, right? So I had this caveat that said, look, you're not that bad. Now, when you start saying words like you're not that bad, maybe there may be a problem, but I wasn't looking at that, right? I'm just like, I got this. I'm good. Look at me. So I'm going on. I'm drinking alcoholically. And, here's the thing. I don't know too many kids or teenagers at that time who weren't me would go to school, like before I got to school, because I knew what time the liquor store opened, I would get somebody to cop for me to get me a half pint. And then I'd go to the spot, get me a nickel bag of that other stuff. And then I could go to class. after I consumed that on my way to school. Now that doesn't sound like a regular teenager, but that's the way I drank and couldn't wait until class was over and the day was over because guess what? My body craved it because it was already in me. I found out that you don't get a craving if you don't drink. If the only time I get a craving is when I drink. The other part is desire in my mind, wanting it, needing it, thinking about it, the obsession of the mind, right? So I drank alcoholically throughout high school, was able to get academic favor and go to a university on the East Coast. And so you're saying to yourself, man, he looks like he has a pretty good life. I love the big book. The plan of action is in there and it describes what this looks like. It says, and more about alcoholism, it's a progressive illness over an inconsiderable period. Guess what? We get worse, never better. But see, all those little pieces that told me I wasn't an alcoholic, I believed in them, right? I got married on the East Coast. She was 10 years older than me. She was already established. I was still in school. But guess what? I was just like, look, man, look at God. Look at how God is blessing me. But she asked me a question one day after I had passed out and came to. She said, Paris. I said, yes. She said, are you an alcoholic? I said, oh, no. I said, what happened tonight won't happen again. What happened was she asked me the night before to make some daiquiris before we went to the club, right? And I was a good daiquiri baker. I would pretty much put half or more than half of the fifth in the daiquiri. And the rest of it I would consume, right? So this night I did a little bit more because she had 2 bottles in there. So I'm hitting it. I'm an alcoholic. I can't stop. So next thing I know, I woke up that morning in front of a fireplace. Came to in front of a fireplace, and I believe she put more logs on that were necessary. So I was being cooked. So, of course, I can't see a problem with this. And I'm that alcoholic that can do that image control, put on those masks real quick to cover it over, to make sure that you don't believe that I know I've got something wrong, but I don't want you to see it, or believe it. So I can put the mask on. But guess what? The mask comes off at a certain point. And the mask came off because I couldn't stop. I love in the chapter, there's a solution. It talks about, it says that we can forget the pains of even a week or a month ago that placed us in that position to be harmed, right? So my wife would do the garbage bag act, and I call the garbage bag act, put my ass out, right? So that's when all my clothes are in garbage bags. So that's the garbage bag act, right? So I would get the garbage bag act ever so often. I was Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I couldn't remember what I said or what I did after drinking. Right? Because before drinking, she was everything, and some of us have a gift of gab. You're an angel. You're the most beautiful creature ever made on this planet. God knew what he was doing when he created you. All that stuff. But when I drank, there were certain words that were not nice coming out my mouth and certain actions that were not me, but were my untreated alcoholism and behavior as a result of drinking. So anyway, one time I'm coming back. I'm in the pickup truck coming back from DC. Coming on the Beltway in DC. So all of a sudden I've got a couch and a love seat, and I always took the 2 items that I bought. Even if I didn't have anywhere to go, that couch and love seat is coming with me. Come on, we're going to move it out. Come on, let's go. So I'm stand up on the back of the pickup truck. I have a bright idea to adjust the couch or the love seat. I don't remember which one. And that's all I remember for 3 months. I fell off the back of that pickup truck on the expressway, the highway, as you call it there. But this is where cars are constantly going. Only by the grace of God that I wasn't crushed by other cars or rolled over by other cars. So when I say grace and mercy, I know what it feels like to have grace and mercy because I was spared of what could have happened. But what did happen, I was badly maimed, body torn up, head split open, the back was wide open, they couldn't close it, body burned from the asphalt. And when I finally came to, they would have to put me back under because if I heard noises, if you could drop the pin, my whole body could feel it. It was head trauma, right? So I remember when I finally started getting mobility again, some mobility, my sister, and they had a little hole in the middle of my mask where I could drink the Ensure because my jaws were messed up, and I could smoke a Newport through it too, which is really cool. So the smoke would just go everywhere. So I was like, man, this is working. So anyway, my sister-in-law rolls me out in the wheelchair to the back of to the hospital where I could smoke. And so I'm smoking through this, and she asked me, Paris, baby, is there anything you need? I mumbled through the mask, I could go for a drink. They say, we'll forget the pains of even a week ago or what placed us in that position to be harmed. I had what I didn't know, which was untreated alcoholism. All I knew was my go-to was a drink. And when I couldn't go to a drink, I was thinking about getting to that drink. So I had the obsession of the mind. So fast forward, that marriage went through other pieces, but I don't have time to go into all that. Keep coming back. So all of a sudden I get to Chicago, I badly mangled from the divorce, from everything that happened in DC and Maryland. And so guess what? I knew that something was wrong. And my mom said, maybe you need some treatment or something. I said, no, treatment. I just need some money. That's what I need. I just need some money and I need to get some things going. I mean, that's the treatment. Whatever, Ma. So anyway, I get back into the working world. I'm working, I'm making money, I'm rising, I'm moving, I'm working in London, I'm moving, I'm in DC, I'm not in DC, I was in New York. In New York, I was in California for this company. I was all over doing all this stuff, building and designing stuff for them, for our teams. So all that, you can't tell me I'm an alcoholic. There's no way you can tell me I'm an alcoholic. Look, first of all, I got power, I got property, I got prestige. All this stuff. So I can't be an alcoholic, right? I got married, right? Again, this wife told me, she said, I'm going to take you to a place where they talk about drinking. I said, well, really? I said, it's like tasting. We're going to taste there and stuff. She's like, they have everything there. I was like, okay, cool. I came home from work that day without a bottle in one hand and a case in the other hand and my briefcase, So we go to this place, 319 East 75th Street, and I see a liquor store across the street. I'm like, baby, let me run in and have a bottle. We can come in with something, She's like, no, they got everything in there. We walk in, and all of a sudden I'm looking around. These people I know they're already lit because they're happy. They're laughing. They're joking. I'm like, oh, man, they already got started. So I'm like looking around for the wet bar, right? So I go to the back, and I'm like, man, they must have shut down. There must be a second session. I'm asking my wife, I'm like, is there a second session? Because I think we missed it. She's like, no, everything is good. So all of a sudden they're raising their hand, 10 days sober, 20 days, 30 days, 20 years. I'm like, oh my God. I'm looking around. I said, what is this? She's like, they're sober. I said, yeah, I mean, but what's that? Why am I here? She's like, because they can help you. I need help. They need the help. They can't drink. I said, so I'm in there, I'm pissed now because I'm just like, why would she bring me to a place like this? How dare you? And so then they're trying to hug me. Then she tried to raise my hand to talk about I got one day. I'm like, I drank at work. I was an at work drinker. I mean, I drank in the morning and I drank at work. So there's no sober in me. So I'm like, take my hand down. So I left out of that meeting, ran across the street to that liquor store, got whatever I wanted, drank it before I got across, and I stayed out there for another 3 or 4 years. And for some of us, the scorecard had to read 0, as it describes in our 12 and 12, right? Not for all of us. The bar was raised. Some get it, and they're like, okay, you know what? I must stop. I need to get some help. Not me. I needed everything gone. I needed to be beaten into a state of reasonableness, right? And God knew that. He said, if I still keep him with stuff, and I still keep him as he is, there's no way that he'll be able to receive the gift. And that gift is a gift that I never knew I would ever be able to have and didn't even know I wanted it. So what does it look like to receive this gift? So towards the end of my drinking, those last 2 years were a living nightmare. I ended up in a special place in California, not in the physical California, but 26 in California. That's a county jail. So that's where I ended up. That's the street it's located on, right, in Chicago. So, I had a nice paid vacation for 6 or 7 months with killers. And I remember it was so crazy because they gave me an offer. They said, we've got this great offer for you. The attorney is smiling. She's excited. I'm just like, come on, run it. Because I'm thinking I'm walking out. She's like, the offer is 6 to 30. I said, 6 to 30 what? She said, 6 to 30 years. I said, well, do they have anything else? Because I've been to negotiations. Let's compromise. Let's see if we can give something, get something, let's talk about this. And she said, but I said, do they have any? She said, they have a program, but it's for alcoholics and drug addicts. I said, oh no. I said, I said, do you go to the penitentiary with that? She's like, no. I said, well, let me think about it. So I called my sister and I'm like, hey sis, they gave me an offer 6 to 30 years. She's like, oh my God, baby. I'm like, yeah, right. I said, but they have a program, but it's for alcoholics and drug addicts. She's like, you took it, right? I said, why would I take it? She said, because you're an alcoholic and a drug addict. I said, I am? Only by the grace of God, I took that design for that next step into something that I didn't know would give me a life beyond my wildest dreams. I went into a recovery home for 120 days. First 60 days, guess who I was listening to? Me. I was comparing myself out of AA. I was telling myself I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not as bad as you. And I'm here with all these criminals, right? And I'm in there, like, I'm better than you. You don't know. So all of a sudden, this guy said, listen to the similarities and not the difference. He picked up. He couldn't stop even when he wanted to stop. That was the moment of truth for me. The cotton was out of my ears and it was in my mouth because every time I picked up, I did not want to pick up. And I wanted to stop. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't stop. Even when I tried, I would have all bright ideas. I'm going to go this way so that I don't run to the liquor store. I'm not in front of the liquor store. I would always end up at the liquor store or someone's liquor store, right? But here's the thing. You guys gave me some information, but information without application is just information, right? You said I needed to get a sponsor. So Lenny, I got a sponsor. So the first 11 months of this Design for Living, your Design for Living, as I called it, I sponsored myself. So for 11 months, I did the Paris program. I suffered from RIDA during those 11 months, RIDA, restless, irritable, discontent, and angry. Because I didn't have what the big book describes, a sufficient substitute. I was still thinking the way I was thinking. I was still believing the way I used to believe, and I hadn't unlearned what I had learned. So I was basically doing it my way, and my way was killing me. And I would come to meetings with a big book, a 12 and 12, bottles and stools. I think that the little red book, I'd have all these books sitting in my chair so you could think that I was on my game. And then you'd ask me, hey, you have a sponsor? Yes, I do. And we're working very hard. But thank you, though. What step are you on? We're within the first realm of the presence of the steps. I was miserable. And I had to have image control to be miserable, right? Had these masks on. So I was at a meeting one night. And this guy says, he's like, hey, how many days you got, Paris? How many months you got? And I had never really counted. But that night, a 5:45 meeting, I actually counted, right? I was like, 11 months. Sounds like a year to me. 11 sounds like a year, right? So, I've completed the program. I mean, I'm like, this is close enough. I mean, this is 12. 11 is 12. I'm an alcoholic. So I left the meeting. I already had in my mind what I would do. I'm going to go and get drunk. And then I may come back and visit you guys, right? So I went to a liquor store, got me a case of beer. I cracked the first one, put it to my lips. It went into my body, hit my bloodstream, went to my brain. And guess what it said? What took you so damn long? And I drank and I was popping them. Before I even got to where I wanted to go, I had finished the case, right? Because I was so thirsty. Ended up with the same people I had left a year and a half ago. If nothing changes, and the same man or woman will drink again. I've seen people come around Alcoholics Anonymous and stay. And I've seen people just come around Alcoholics Anonymous and their sobriety is precarious because they never made an honest beginning with being honest. So when I finally, that night, this guy looks at me who had known that I was doing some recovery, something in recovery, right? He was like, Paris, I thought you was in recovery. I said, yeah. He had something. I had passed him something. I said, give me my shit. And I remember making it to my sister's house because I ran out of money, 3 a.m. in the morning, right? That's the best time to visit family, right? And so I make it to my sister's house and she's like, what's going on? I was like, hey, I need my money. She had been saving money for me for about a year, commission, salary. She's like, how much do you need, babe? You need a bus card or something? I said, no, I need it all. And she looked and she said, no. She said, you've been drinking again. I was like, yeah, a little bit. She said, no. She said, baby, don't they have managers or supervisors in that program? I said, no, they don't have any managers or supervisors. They have sponsors. She said, well, that's what you need because you don't know everything. I had that first gift of recognition of an authority higher than me because I love my sister. She said, if I give you that money, I'll never see my brother again. I said, what do I do now? And I'm crying, I'm drunk and high. I'm crying. She's like, get on that couch and go to sleep. And tomorrow you go and get a sponsor. That next day I got a sponsor. I asked somebody for help. They say the luckiest people in the world are people that need other people, but the true lucky ones can ask for help if you truly want the help. So I asked somebody for help. And here's the crazy part. When I asked him in the back of the mustard seat, it was smoke time, right? So I was just like, hey, will you sponsor me? I was like, that's okay. I understand. And so I started walking away from him. He's like, hey, wait a minute, come back. Because I was so used to rejection, right? And I had never truly asked anybody for help from a hopeless state of mind. He said, come back. And I came back and I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, I will sponsor you. I will help you to stay sober one day at a time. What I ask of you is that you make 6 to 7 meetings a week. Here's the crazy thing. I was already making 3 or 4 meetings every day, right? But because he said it, I guess I gave him that look like, yeah, I don't think I'll be doing that with you, buddy. So he said, how often did you drink? I said, every day, all day. He says, if you're one of us, we're the worst forgetters on this planet. We suffer from alcoholism, ISM, insanely short memory, or ISM, I sponsor me, which I did. So for the first part, I started making those meetings, and he didn't give me speaker meetings. He didn't give me topic and discussion. He knew that I was already the topic, right? What he gave me were mechanical meetings, reading out of the book. The disease already knew about me. I needed to know about the disease, and I needed the transformation as a result of the application that happens as a result of working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. It says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has what? Thoroughly followed our path. Thorough for me was whatever this man said, even though I didn't want to do it. My life depended upon it because I knew I didn't have another recovery in me. I had what, and I still do have GOD, the gift of desperation. I know if I don't do this work on a daily basis and continue to trust this process, this loving God who I found in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I'll start to think for myself again. I'll start to disconnect from the solution. And the solution resides within Alcoholics Anonymous for me. So during this process, I was doing what my sponsor said do, and I thought that in that first year, I know we got new covers on. I thought in that first year, things should be bells and whistles. I mean, we should be looking at perfection now. I should not have any problems. Guess what? Life kept showing up. And for some reason, the IRS figured out I had a job. Child support all of a sudden knew I was working. What is this? Funny story. I'm at this my office, and the CFO says, "Hey, buddy, Paris, when you get a chance, why don't you come in the office? I gotta give you some information." I was like, "Oh, some information, right?" He closes the door. He's like, "I got 2 letters here." He said, one is from the IRS. They want 80%. And he's like, one is from child support. They need 80%. I said, so 20 and 80, 20, 80. So is that like my salary? He's like, yes, 20 and 80. I said, okay. I said, all right. He's like, here, take them with you. I got copies. Why don't you go and think about it? I was like, oh, okay. So I set them on my desk. I go downstairs. I got my Newport 100s, and that's what I smoke. I'm popping them like I got a murder case, right? I'm popping them. Whew, Lord. Liquor store is right across the street from my office, right? And so that liquor store is getting closer, baby. So I was like, they said, call your sponsor. This was my thinking. I call my sponsor. He says, meet me at the bank. That's what my thinking. Let's get all of this settled now. This is how the program works. This is in my mind, right? So I called him and I said, yeah, so IRS wants 20, wants 80, child support wants 80. Then I gave him the numbers, right? I said, there's 70,000 over there, 85,000 over there. Then we got this amount to pay in back pay. And so that's what we're looking at. He's like, it's not that bad. I said, no, you're not listening. So this is what we're looking at. This is everything. This is everything. He said, it's not that bad. Did you pray? I said some choice words to him and I hung up. And he remembers it today. He's like, yeah, I remember you cursed me out. I cursed him out. I wasn't all spiritual then. So I remember going upstairs to my office to the bathroom and I got in and something said, just get on your knees and ask God for help. And what I asked him for is that I didn't want to drink because I was thinking about the old solutions, right? There's a sign at the mustard seed that says there's nothing so bad that a drink won't make worse. I was convinced that wasn't going to work. And for some reason it said, hey, why don't you call these people? Why don't you take a different action? Why don't you call somebody? So I called the IRS and guess what? They said we could work out a payment plan. Found out in a divorce, one of the divorces of many. So anyway, I found in one of the divorces that they couldn't take all that, right? So I found the letter that said that when I went to the legal courthouse and all that stuff. But guess what? I got into a different solution instead of drinking. And I asked God for help so I wouldn't drink. I didn't ask him to let me hit the lotto. I didn't ask him to all of a sudden make $20,000 or $50,000 appear on my desk. I asked him to allow me not to drink today over this. And that's what I do in a lot of the instances that I'm looking at life. I don't want to drink about it. Give me your solution. Thy will, not mine, be done. Fast forward, it's like I've seen life show up. And the way I was able to have evidence that I didn't have to drink under the conditions were people like you, the people in the rooms, when you shared about what you went through and how you didn't go through it with a drink, how you lost family members and you didn't drink, and you would talk about it. A good friend of mine, Bill Freeman, who passed in sobriety, tragically though, he used to say, talk about everything, drink about nothing. Because the stuff that I don't talk about is the stuff that I'll drink about or I'll disconnect as a result of. Oh, I can't say that. Oh, no, that'll mess up my image. You can't say if you're facing your ass at the same time. I found that, right? So I remember when my son, because I've got 4 children, and my youngest is 16 now, and he's still with us. And because when we found out he had a Seyffe-Chosen syndrome when he was born, where his skull wasn't appropriate to his brain space, right? I cursed God. And I called my sponsor because he had to have cranial reconstructive surgery where the skull had to be split across, had to be reshaped. And this is a baby at 6 months that had to have the surgery, right? I told my sponsor my plan. I said, look, this is what's going on. He's like, my prayers, man, I'm with you. I got you. I said, my plan is, I'm not going to be able to make all those meetings that I used to make. I'm not going to be doing all that service stuff. And I was like really pissed at AA, right? God at AA, right? I'm like, so I'm going to show you, right? I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, right? And my sponsor said, if you disconnect from this plan of action, you're going to drink again and you won't be there for your family. He knew what had happened years before because I'd done a thorough 4th and 5th step with him when certain things had happened. He already knew my pattern. Right? And that's what we find out in the inventory are patterns, right? So he knew my patterns and he knew my defects, right? So what he said is what I suggest is that you redouble your efforts. I said, what does that look like? He said, you continue to do what you're doing and you ask God for more service, more opportunities to align yourself with his will. I'm like, oh my God. But this is what God did. All of a sudden, before my son had the surgery, I get 3 new sponsees. I told these guys, I said, look, let me tell you something. I'm going through a whole lot right now. I cannot service you guys, really well right now. And they said, that's why we want you, because we know you've made an honest beginning. We want you to sponsor us. And I called my sponsor and said, yeah, these guys, he's like, sponsor them. As I'm sponsoring them, guess what? The fear is starting to lessen. The reality is still there, but I'm looking at my primary purpose more so is to stay sober and help another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. The one job in AA, right? I go to every meeting. I'm crying. I'm telling people what's going on because my sponsor said, talk about everything, drink about nothing. So on the day of my son's surgery, this is when I felt the power of the fellowship. Over 300 plus alcoholics called me to check on me the day of his surgery, that morning while he was in surgery. That's when I felt the power of the fellowship. They didn't ask me, they didn't say, hey, we need, they said, how can we be of service to you, parents? My baby came through the surgery. And guess what the fellowship didn't stop doing? Checking on me. Ensuring that they were allowing me to know that no matter what, we got you. We got you. Do you need any food? Do you need this? That's when I felt the power of the fellowship. Went through a 3.5-year divorce. Guess what? I didn't drink over her. And alcoholics drink in relationships. I didn't drink over her. I didn't pray for her either, though. I prayed for other things on it, but I didn't get up. The power was that, guess what? This is still life. And I don't have to drink over when life gets lifey. Did I feel? Absolutely. Did I feel the rejection? Did I feel the whatever after 13 or 14 years of marriage? Yeah. And she wasn't an alcoholic. She was a normie. I don't know what that really is, though. So anyway, I went through that process and I didn't have to drink. And guess what? Again, I did. I redoubled my efforts, committed more to service, committed more to, man, how can I help the next alcoholic to achieve sobriety? Wherever you called me you remember we used to say, okay, I don't know if you guys did it. When somebody say, hey, you want to drink? You say, okay. Hey, you want to go to this place and get something to smoke or toot? Okay. Every time someone called and said, Paris, can you speak at this recovery home or at this hospital? Guess what I was saying? Okay. 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 Paris, can you read the big book with me? Okay. What it did is lessened all those fears. And guess what God did? He kept me sober. He kept me sober. I'm also the president of the board of directors of the Mustard Seed Groups in Chicago. And when we went into the pandemic, the question was, do we keep our doors open, right? And my thought was, there was a guy named Paul. He passed, though. I was at a meeting right before we went shelter in place, and he looked at me dead in my eyes, and he said, Paris, is the Mustard Seed going to stay open? And for some reason, something overwhelmed me, and I looked him dead in his eyes, and I said, yes. I said, we've got to be here for the alcoholic that still suffers, that can't probably use the technology that'll be probably utilized as we go forward in this and whatever is going to happen. So as a result, we kept the doors open, and we also created 84 meetings at that time on a virtual platform. Didn't know what it was look like. But look, the big book already told us what was going to happen. Back in 1976, in the 4 words of the 4th edition. Guess what? We'd be modem to modem. We'd be carrying the message. I'd be in Germany. I'd be in Hawaii. The fellowship is everywhere, right? We're global. I'd be in Stockholm. Where the hell? I never thought about going to Stockholm, right? But I go there to be with my family. And guess what? People have not just gotten sober on these platforms. They stayed sober. We got members of the Mustard Seed that are going to be coming up on celebrating 4 years. How? Because we've been in existence for 4 years. And we call them Zoom babies, right? But all it took was, guess what? The key. Willingness. Honest, open-minded, and willing. I'm extremely grateful to be allowed to be, and I say that my sponsor let me know that it's not I that get to go. I'm allowed to be of service wherever I'm asked to be of service at. All my family members that are here from Chicago, thank you guys for coming on. Thank you guys in Hawaii, my family in Hawaii, for allowing me to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I want to share this with you. A guy named Larry Kay, who chairs a 4 o'clock big book meeting at the Mustard Seed, he gave me this, and I had to go to his meeting. And I had to go. I was told to go. And I started changing suggestions to, this is what I must do for me, right? He used to always end this meeting sometimes. He'd say, there are good days and there are great days. He said, a good day is when everything goes exactly the way I want it to, and I don't drink. A great day is when nothing goes my way and I don't pick up a drink. This is a program of action, not of thinking. I can't think my way into right acting. I have to act my way into right thinking. And that's only able way to do that is to keep coming back. You know, Linda C., who's on here, she says, if the dog bit you and the man quit you, we drink no matter what. And I love you, Linda. I love my family in Hawaii. Let me try to do it. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? And with that, I remain reachable, teachable, and accessible. Thank you guys for allowing me to be of service.